Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any video lesson from Rao's IAS Study Circle. Join the official Telegram channel of Rao's IAS Study Circle to stay updated and get all the materials on the Telegram. The link to the channel can be found in the description box. Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading from UPSC Civil Services examination point of view. Now today let us discuss some of the important news which has appeared in the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 6th August 2022. These are the list of the news which we will be taking up for today's discussion, and their timestamp has also been provided in the YouTube description. Now let's take up this news appearing as a lead article on page number 6. Now this news says lessons for India from Taiwan standoff. So effectively this article highlights that what can India learn from Taiwan amidst ongoing escalation of situation between Taiwan and China because of Nancy Pelosi's visits to Taiwan. And based on this and taking cue from Taiwan, the author says that India should continue its trade without compromising its territorial sovereignty. So based on this understanding, let's look into some of the important highlights made in this article. So on that note, let's understand the impact of US visit to Taiwan, how it affects One China policy of United States of America, the issue of trade vis-a-vis territorial sovereignty, and also lessons for India as has been highlighted in this article. Now yesterday Vaibhav sir has also dealt with this topic. So let's try to look into different perspective which has been highlighted in this particular article. Now from your examination point of view, this article gets covered under GS paper 2 under international relations, particularly with respect to effects of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest. So before looking into the impact of US visit to Taiwan, first of all let us understand the aspect of One China policy and the difference with One China principle. Now One China policy is a policy of United States of America, and this policy was adopted in 1979, whereby United States, according to One China policy, cut off all diplomatic relationship with Taiwan, and in principle accorded the Chinese position that there is only one Chinese government which also represents Taiwan. Now this is the policy of United States of America, that is One China policy. Now talking about One China principle, this is a principle followed by the government of China or the PRC or People's Republic of China. So according to this One China principle, China believes that it can use force if Taiwan declares independence, and China effectively considers Taiwan as part of its mainland. And because of this One China principle, it has ensured that Taiwan remains in diplomatic isolation. Now talking about the history of Taiwan, the defeated nationalists who were also known as Kuomintang, they retreated to Taiwan and made it its seat of government. And since then, they have been ruling in Taiwan. However, the People's Republic of China considers Taiwan to be its essential part. So the United States of America in 1979 adopted the principle of One China policy, whereby it maintained official diplomatic relation only with one Chinese government or with the PRC. Now, despite this One China policy of United States, US has maintained unofficial relations with Taiwan, including selling of arms to Taiwan, because United States believes that Taiwan should be in a position to defend itself in case China attacks Taiwan. And United States has maintained unofficial relation with Taiwan, including sale of arms through the Taiwan's Relations Act. So diplomatically speaking, United States of America does not recognize Taiwan as a separate country, but it still maintains trade and cultural ties with Taiwan. And based on this, United States of America also maintain its unofficial presence in Taiwan through the American Institute in Taiwan. So according to scholars, United States practices the position of strategic ambiguity with Taiwan, as on one hand it does not recognize the diplomatic presence or official recognition of Taiwan as a separate country, yet it continues trade and other cultural relationship along with selling of arms so that Taiwan can defend itself. And hence US also maintain its unofficial presence in Taiwan. Now, the diplomatic policy of India is not very different, as India also believes and follows the One China policy and does not recognize Taiwan as a separate country or has official diplomatic relations with Taiwan. So it is based on these understanding that the visit of Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan becomes important, as the visit has seen steady escalation of tension between China and United States of America. Now, how this visit has impacted United States and its partners? It has reduced the erosion of US assurance in the Pacific theater or the Pacific region. Further, this visit has also provided reassurance of United States of America for its Indo-Pacific partners and also its presence in the Indo-Pacific region. Further, it can be said to be a symbolic assertion of United States against China's hegemony. However, despite all these reassurances by the United States, it has made Taiwan the political playing field between United States and China, as quoted by ex-Foreign Secretary Nirupama Roy. So now the question remains that how this impacts India and what are the lessons which are to be learned, as has been highlighted in this particular article. So in the geopolitical world, the stage is set for another escalation, as United States wants to reaffirm its credibility with its partners and friends. China, being a revisionist power, wants to change the regional order and can use force to meet its strategic objective, whereas Taiwan, on the other hand, wants to stand up against China's bullying. And China's assertive policy and its bullying tactics has been used also against India. So it is in this backdrop the author highlights that there are 4 mistakes which have been committed by India which India should not have done. So the first point highlighted here is that India should not host or meet Chinese leaders while the Chinese People's Liberation Army or Chinese Army continues to violate our territorial norms along the line of actual control. The second mistake, as highlighted in this article, is that India should not unilaterally, that is only on its own side, cater to Chinese sensitivities without China considering our sensitivities. For example, the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. So it says that India should not unilaterally cater to Chinese sensitivities even during standoffs between two militaries. And here the article says that India should not shy away from maintaining even a cordial relationship with Taiwan. Now, since 2017, when Doklam standoff took place, parliamentary delegation visits and legislature level dialogues between India and Taiwan have not taken place. So here the author says that India should not fall into the tactics of bullying by China and rather maintain a cordial relationship, including cultural relationship with Taiwan. The third point, or rather the third mistake highlighted in this article, is that India should not have delayed Quad groupings in the early 2000s despite strong objections from China, as both India and Australia delayed Quad groupings because of strong objections or strong retaliation from China. And here the author says that in retrospect, appeasing Beijing by almost abandoning the Quad was a bad strategy. Now the problem here is that even now, China opposes Quad and says that it is an Asian NATO and accuses India of being a part of Quad. And the fourth mistake highlighted in this article is the non-acknowledgement of the Chinese army's intrusion into Indian territory since 2020. And it is here the author says that India should take a cue from Taiwan's position, as it has not been subdued by Chinese aggression or bullying, and Taiwan still maintains trade relation with China but without compromising on its territorial stand. So the position of Taiwan is that rather than avoiding confrontation with China, including military retaliation, it chose to go ahead with the congressional delegations of United States with high-profile meetings and statements in full public gear. Now Taiwan also made it clear that it is unwilling to back down despite China's threat or consequences. So according to Taiwan, appeasement of China is not the solution to Chinese aggression, especially in the long term. And this is one of the lessons which India should learn from Taiwan. And Taiwan still continues its trade with mainland China despite recent threat and escalation of tensions between Taipei and Beijing. Now on the economic front, this article says that mainland China is Taiwan's largest trading partner, and China has an annual trade deficit of around $80 billion to $130 billion with Taiwan, as mainland China is dependent on Taiwan, especially for semiconductors. And here it says that investment from Taiwan to China were to the tune of $198.3 billion by 2021, whereas investments from mainland China to Taiwan were only $2.5 billion from 2009 to 21. So Taiwan clearly understands that China is dependent on Taiwan, especially for trade with respect to semiconductors and also other trade. So Taiwan continues its trade despite mainland China bullying or threatening Taiwan. And based on this international position, there are certain lessons for India to be learned according to this article. So these lessons are that India needs to clarify the events of 2020 on the borders of Ladakh, including the illegal occupation of Indian territory by the Chinese army. Further, the author says that Government of India should highlight the threat posed by China in an unambiguous manner, that is in a very clear manner, and Government of India should also come very clear on those lands which are illegally occupied by Chinese army. Now this is because absence of any clarity by the Indian government on illegal occupation by Chinese army, either due to domestic compulsions or any other international compulsions, legitimizes China's claim on such Indian territory. And ambiguous messaging on Chinese threat along LAC also confuses international community, including India's friends and well-wishers. So because of lack of clarity on illegal occupation by Chinese army, India is not able to receive diplomatic or any other kind of international support by its friends because of its ambiguous policy on LAC. So here the author says that India must understand that China is a revisionist power and it wants to challenge and change the world order by disturbing the regional balance. Hence, appeasing China in the longer term might not work also for India. Further, the author says that India, being a far bigger economy and military power than Taiwan, should not buckle under Chinese pressure or threat and continue trade with China, but not on their terms and conditions. So despite threat or pressure from China, India should not worry about its trade with China, and Government of India should clarify the illegal occupation by Chinese army along India's LAC. Thus this article becomes very important, particularly from the perspective of international relations under GS paper 2. The next news to be taken up also appears in the article section on page number 6. Now this news says, addressing the challenges in new age digital commerce. Online dispute resolution or ODR can help mitigate or reduce litigation risk and provide insights into consumer problems. Now this article highlights about the importance of growing e-commerce market, and based on this article suggests that since the e-commerce market is about to grow up to $200 billion by 2026, hence there is a need for online dispute resolution mechanism also. Now on that note, this article also mentions about Open Network for Digital Commerce or ONDC, which is an open source platform, and it aims to democratize online shopping both for seller and also for buyers. Now we have already discussed about ONDC few days back in the DNS dated 24th of June 2022. So first of all, let us understand about this Open Network for Digital Commerce, and then we will try to understand that how an accessible online dispute resolution mechanism will further improve the entire e-commerce ecosystem, and it will help to enhance both the experience of sellers and buyers through an online dispute resolution mechanism. So the Open Network for Digital Commerce basically democratizes online shopping network, and hence it allows small and medium business owners who so far could not register on any of the e-market portal due to certain limitations posed by these e-commerce portals such as Amazon or Flipkart. So the Open Network for Digital Commerce, which was initiated in 5 mega cities, has now been extended to 18 more cities. So first of all, let us revise what we have already discussed about the Open Network for Digital Commerce, as it seeks to establish a public digital infrastructure with an open network. So this Open Network for Digital Commerce, which has been described as ONDC, has been conceptualized by the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. And this has been conceptualized based on UPI, that is Unified Payment Interface. So ONDC as a not-for-profit organization will offer a network to enable local digital commerce stores to connect with the network. Now let us first of all understand how it will work. So for example, you have an account with Amazon and Zomato, but you do not have an account with Myntra or say Flipkart. So all these apps will be based on this single platform which will be open source. And even if you do not have an account with Myntra, then through this single platform, you can purchase stuffs or any products from Myntra, or even though you do not have an account with Zomato, then through this single platform, which will be an open source platform, you can order your delivery through Zomato. So the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, that is DPIIT under Ministry of Commerce and Industry, conducted an outreach exercise during COVID-19, and it found that there is a huge mismatch, especially for the local retail ecosystem to participate in the e-commerce business because of existing e-commerce giants like Amazon or Flipkart. So as of now, this project of Open Network for Digital Commerce is in a pilot stage, and it has been started in 5 cities, namely Delhi NCR, Bhopal, Bengaluru, Shillong and Coimbatore. And the idea behind this open network platform is to allow smaller retail shops to compete against industry giants and thereby make e-commerce segment more inclusive and accessible for consumers also. So through this single platform and based on open network, it can be used both by consumers and also by retail shop owners for different domains. For example, food delivery, travel, logistics, urban services, etc. So this whole idea of having a single platform is based on an open network for exchange of goods and services on digital or electronic network. And this open protocol or open network will be used to establish public digital infrastructure for the entire chain of activities. So the open network for digital commerce will not only make e-commerce more inclusive, but will also democratize the entire digital commerce space, as the idea is to move from existing platform-centric model to an open network model, where existing service providers can make suitable changes in the infrastructure based on their needs and requirements. Now let us understand through this example of iOS and Android. Now we know that iOS is used by Apple and it is not an open source network, whereas Android is based on open source network, and hence different mobile companies, for example, say Samsung, LG or any other mobile phone using Android, can make suitable changes based on the requirement of the phone, whereas no other company can use iOS because it is not an open source platform, but it is rather a closed platform, and hence only Apple can make suitable changes for its own product. So this is the example with respect to platform-centric model, which can be equated with iOS, which cannot be changed. And here the government intends to move from platform-centric model to a open-centric model, which can be changed by service providers. So the whole idea for an open network for e-commerce is to standardize operation, especially with respect to cataloging, inventory management, order management, and also order fulfillment. Thus, the ONDC infrastructure will not only make the digital space more inclusive, but also more democratically available, even for smaller and medium business owners. And based on the growing nature of e-commerce market, the authors in this article suggest that there is a need for accessible online dispute resolution mechanism. Now, NITI Aayog has published a report titled Designing the Future of Dispute Resolution, the ODR Policy Plan for India. And according to this report, it highlights that online dispute resolution or ODR is the resolution of disputes, particularly small and medium value cases, using digital technology and techniques of ADR, that is alternate dispute resolution, such as arbitration, conciliation and mediation. Further, it says that ODR refers to the process of using technology for dispute avoidance, containment and resolution outside the traditional court system. And as a dispute resolution avenue, it can be provided both as an extension of public court system and even outside the public court system. Further, the NITI Aayog report says that ODR has the potential to help reduce the burden of court and efficiently resolve several categories of cases, And it may also be integrated to support the judiciary through technology integrated in court-annexed alternate dispute resolution centers, such as introduction of e-Lok Adalats, and ODR can also be introduced within government departments for internal disputes. Thus, ODR or online dispute resolution mechanism will help to sort out small and medium value cases. It will be sort of an outside court settlement. There will be use of technology, and there can be an extension of public court through use of e-Lok Adalats and even resolution of online disputes through various government departments. And based on these understandings, the authors in this article suggest that an accessible online dispute resolution mechanism will provide the following benefits, as it will not only provide speedy resolution of disputes, but provision of these dispute settlement mechanism even in regional languages will allow the e-commerce market to penetrate in semi-urban and rural areas. And overall, this dispute resolution in a speedy manner will further enhance user experience with respect to online shopping. The next point highlighted is that these online dispute resolution mechanism will help to handle complex multi-party disputes, and in the process, the online dispute resolution mechanism will further improve itself in terms of service delivery and also resolution of disputes. Now, these resolution of disputes will also help to reduce litigation burden, and this will also reduce the judicial logjam or reduce cases in the judiciary. Further, ODR will provide valuable insights into customers' problems and also their experience and satisfaction post resolution of their disputes. Hence, it will provide an alternative platform for dispute resolution, and overall, it will help to build confidence and trust of consumers and sellers about the open network for digital commerce. Now, as of now, there are certain examples of online dispute resolution mechanisms, such as the NPCI, which is National Payments Corporation of India, has mandated platforms in the UPI ecosystem to adopt the ODR for complaints and grievances connected to failed transaction, INCRAM, and SEBI scores, which stands for Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI Complaints Redress System, RBI CMS or RBI Complaint Management System, which is another example of ODR, Maharera or Maharashtra Real Estate Regulatory Authority, MSME Samadhan, that is Micro and Small Medium Enterprises Delayed Payment Monitoring System, and RTI Online or Right to Information Online. So these are some of the examples of online dispute resolution system which already exist in different departments. Thus, this article concludes by saying that a customized ODR process or online dispute resolution process can further improve the overall market experience of the growing e-commerce market in India. Now, despite the benefits, there are still certain challenges which the ODR or online dispute resolution will face. And this is according to the report of NITI Aayog. And these challenges has been categorized at structural level, behavioral level, regulatory level, and operational level. So at the structural level, the report says that it suggests actions to increase digital literacy, improve access to digital infrastructure, and train professionals as neutrals to deliver ODR services. Now at the behavioral level, the report says that there is a need to adopt online dispute resolution to address disputes involving government departments and ministries. Further, at the regulatory level, the report recommends a soft touch approach to regulate ODR platforms and services. And this involves laying down design and ethical principles to guide ODR service providers to self-regulate while fostering growth and innovation in the ecosystem. So effectively, there is a need to regulate the entire mechanism of online dispute resolution mechanism. And at the operational level, there is a need to address privacy and confidentiality concerns. Further, the report also stresses on strengthening the existing legislative framework for online dispute resolution by introducing necessary amendments to the laws or statutes. So these are some of the challenges as suggested by NITI Aayog which needs to be tackled regarding online dispute resolution mechanism. Thus, this article becomes important both from the perspective of GS paper 2 under governance and also from the perspective of GS paper 3 under economy, and questions can be asked both in your prelims and mains examination. With this, let's take up the next news for discussion. The next news to be taken up appears on page number 3, and this news appears mainly from the prelims perspective regarding Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi scheme. Now this news highlights that a woman has been denied financial assistance under Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi schemes merely because she could not submit or provide her ration card. Now provision of ration card is one of the requirements under the Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi scheme. So the Delhi High Court has observed that the objective of the scheme will be defeated if any patient below the poverty line is denied financial help under Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi scheme if they could not produce their ration card. So from our prelims perspective, let's go through some of the important highlights of Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi scheme. Now this is a financial assistance for life-threatening diseases for those people living below poverty line. And in this case, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare provides financial assistance for treatment of poor patients suffering from identified life-threatening diseases and who are treated in government hospitals under this scheme. So under the umbrella scheme of Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi, one-time financial assistance up to Rs 15 lakhs is provided to the patients belonging to poor families living below the threshold poverty lines and who are also suffering from major identified life-threatening diseases. And these life-threatening diseases can be any diseases including cancer. Now RAN or Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi scheme has 3 components. These 3 components are: the first is Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi. The first component provides financial assistance to patients suffering from life-threatening diseases other than cancer. The second component is Health Minister's Cancer Patients Fund. Now this fund provides financial assistance to poor people or poor patients suffering from cancer. And the third component is Scheme for Financial Assistance up to Rs 20 lakhs for patients suffering from specified rare diseases. Now only such people are eligible under Health Minister's discretionary grant whose annual family income is up to Rs 1.25 lakhs or even below. Now to facilitate financial assistance provided under Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi, it is now available on National Health Authority IT platform. So this news says that in order to simplify or streamline the functioning of RAN and also to expedite the approvals, government has launched these schemes on the National Health Authority IT platform. So this enables release of financial assistance to the eligible applicants identified online through the government's existing database. Now some of the requirements to avail financial assistance under the RAN, that is Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi scheme, is that the application must be provided or signed by the doctor and also medical superintendent of the government hospital. A copy of income certificate and ration card must also be provided. Now this particular news highlights that the lady who is below poverty line could not submit or provide her ration card, and hence financial assistance under the Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi scheme was denied. And based on this, the Delhi High Court has questioned this particular decision of the government. Now under this scheme, revolving funds have been set up or created in 13 central government hospital or institutes, and cases involving treatment beyond Rs 2 lakh are referred to the Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare for approval of the funds. So these are some of the important highlights with respect to Rashtriya Aayog Nidhi scheme. And this news becomes important mainly from your prelims perspective with respect to welfare schemes of the central government. The next news to be taken up appears on page number 8. Here it says that privilege of MPs does not extend to criminal cases, according to the chairman of Raj Sabha, as he also stated that members of parliament have a wrong notion that they enjoy privilege or immunity against criminal cases. And he cited Article 105 of the Indian Constitution and also Section 135A of Civil Procedure Code, and stated that the privileges provided to members of parliament under Article 105 is mainly to ensure that the members of parliament perform their duty without any interference. Further, the chairman of Raj Sabha also stated that no member of the parliament should avoid appearing before any investigative agency when they are called upon to do so by citing reason of house duty. That is, since the house is in session and they are performing duties of the house, hence they claim privilege or immunity. So he says that as lawmakers, it is our bounden duty to respect the law and legal procedures. So the Vice President made it amply clear that the members of Parliament do not enjoy any privilege or immunity against criminal proceedings. So he emphasized about Article 105 of the Indian Constitution, which mentions about the aspect of privileges, and stated that MPs enjoy certain privileges so that they can perform their parliamentary duties without any hindrance. And one of the privileges is that a member of parliament cannot be arrested in a civil case 40 days before the commencement of the session or any committee meeting and 40 days thereafter. However, this privilege is only with respect to civil cases, and this privilege does not extend to criminal cases. And he also stated that this privilege is already incorporated under Section 135A of Civil Procedure Code. Hence, Section 135A of Civil Procedure Code mentions about exemption of members of legislative bodies from arrest and detention under civil process. Again, see the term. The term here is civil process and not criminal process. And accordingly, it states that no person shall be liable to be arrested or detained in prison under a civil process. But it does not mention about criminal process. And it is because of this the chairman of Rajya Sabha stated that there is a wrong notion among members of parliament that they enjoy immunity from criminal proceedings. Thus, according to Section 135A of CPC, it says that no person shall be liable to be arrested or detained under civil process if he is a member of either House of Parliament, if he is a member of Legislative Assembly or Legislative Council of a state, if he is a member of Legislative Assembly of a Union Territory, during the continuance of any meeting of such House of Parliament or Legislative Assembly or the Legislative Council, if he is a member of any committee of either House of Parliament, Legislative Assembly of a state or Union Territory, or Legislative Council of a state during the continuance of any meeting of such committee. And if he is a member of either House of Parliament or Legislative Assembly or Council of a state having both houses during the continuance of a joint sitting, meeting, conference or joint committee of the Houses of Parliament or Houses of State Assemblies or State Legislature during the 40 days before and 40 days after the meeting, sitting or such conference. Hence, this particular provision of immunity only applies in civil process. It applies to every member of parliament and state legislature, including legislative council. It also applies to any member of any parliamentary committee, and also it applies in case of joint sitting, and also any joint committee of the houses of parliament or that of joint committee of houses of state legislature. However, Section 135A of CPC does not mention about criminal proceedings. Now, apart from this, let us also go through the immunities provided under Article 361 of the Indian Constitution to President of India and the Governor of States. So, both the President and Governors of States are not answerable to any court of law for the exercise and performance of the powers and duties during the term of office. It further says that no criminal proceedings can be instituted or continued against the President or the Governor in any court during their term of office. No process for the arrest or imprisonment of the President or the Governor shall be issued from any court during their term of office, and no civil proceedings can also be initiated against the President or Governor during their term of office in any court in respect of any act which is done in their personal capacity, whether before or after they have entered upon their office, until the expiration of 2 months next after notice has been delivered to him. So we understand that the office of President of India and the Governor of States enjoys immunity from both civil and criminal proceedings during their term of office. Further, Article 105 of the Indian Constitution says that no member of Parliament shall be liable to any proceedings in any court in respect of anything said or any vote given by them in Parliament or in any parliamentary committee. Now, similar provision has been provided for members of state legislatures. So it says that no member of the legislature of a state shall be liable to any proceedings in any court in respect of anything said or any vote given by them in the legislature or any committee of the state assembly. So these constitutional provisions becomes important mainly from the prelims perspective. Thus, this topic with respect to criminal and civil immunity for members of parliament becomes important from the perspective of prelims under polity and governance. The next news to be taken up also appears on page number 8. Now, this news says that mandatory voting is not practical according to the central government. And because of this, 3 years debate on the compulsory voting bill of 2019 has been put to rest. Now, if you look into or go through the statement of object and reason for the compulsory voting bill, it not only mandates or makes voting compulsory, but it also provides for punishment along with fine. So the central government has stated that right to vote cannot be made mandatory, as voting is a right of a citizen and not a compulsory duty. Hence, this understanding of right to vote as a right and not as a compulsory duty is important. And because of this, the government believed that if right to vote is made compulsory, then it can be subject to legal challenge, or petitions can be filed against mandatory voting in the court of law. Further, the article says that provisions of punishment or fine under this bill may impact public order after the results. And another area where the idea of mandatory voting becomes a bit shaky is that it will force migrants or those citizens from the below poverty line to pay fine for not voting, and this would not be in their interest and would be a terrible idea. So this is what has been highlighted in this particular news. Now, we all know that there is a relation between voting and legitimacy of a democratic government. So more people vote in an election, more legitimacy it provides to the electoral process and hence to the democratic government, which is then formed based on the voting process. So based on this understanding, the bill not only mandated to make voting compulsory, but the whole idea was to increase voting participation, thereby providing more legitimacy to the entire electoral process. Another set of idea was also to encourage citizens to exercise their right to vote, because at times it was seen that citizens do not vote deliberately or boycott electoral process. And because of this, the bill also provided for certain punishment along with fine. However, the central government has stated that right to vote cannot be made mandatory, and voting is a right of a citizen and hence cannot be made as a compulsory duty. Now, there are certain countries such as Australia, Belgium or Argentina where voting is mandatory or compulsory. So on this note, let's go through some of the merits and demerits regarding compulsory voting. Now, first of all, let's go through the merits of compulsory voting. So the first merit highlighted is that it confers higher degree of political legitimacy through increased turnout. The next point is that it prevents disenfranchisement of socially disadvantaged section of the society. Now, those countries where voting is mandatory, they generally go for voting on weekends so that maximum working population can vote in the electoral process. And the next set of merit is that it compels citizens to participate in a country's political process, and overall it increases their awareness with respect to the political parties participating in the election, different candidates who are standing from their respective constituencies, ideologies and developmental plans of the political party, and various developmental work which that candidate or the political party has done, along with future course of action which the political party provides. So these can be said to be some of the merits with respect to compulsory voting. However, there are certain demerits also. It impacts the freedom of citizens as it imposes voting on those who do not wish to vote. The next set of demerit is that compulsory voting violates freedom of expression, because even right not to vote or express one's political opinion or choice is an example of freedom of expression. So making voting compulsory violates this freedom of expression. And based on this, it is also stated that mandatory voting can be said to be undemocratic as it violates the whole idea of liberty of a citizen. And another concern regarding compulsory voting is that it creates a sort of a conflict between rights and duties, because even the central government stated that voting of a citizen is their right, and this right has been provided under the Representation of People Act 1951 and also under the Constitution of India under Article 326, and hence this cannot be made as a compulsory duty. So overall, these can be said to be some of the merits and demerits with respect to compulsory voting process. Hence, this topic becomes important mainly from the perspective of GS Paper 2 under Polity and Governance. Now, based on our discussion, this becomes your practice question for the day. The question is, Consider the following statements. First, no criminal proceeding shall be instituted or continued against the President or the Governor in any court during his term of office. Second, Member of Parliament shall be liable for any proceedings in any court in respect of anything said or any vote given by him or her in Parliament or any of its committee. Hence, the question is, which of the statements given above are correct? Options are A, 1 only, B, 2 only, C, both 1 and 2, and D, neither 1 nor 2. Now, yesterday the question was, Lemru Elephant Reserve, sometimes seen in the news, is located in which of the following states? Options were Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Orissa, and Madhya Pradesh. In this, the correct answer is A, that is Chhattisgarh. With this, we come to an end to today's discussion. Thank you for watching DNS.